Recently, we've seen examples in the video game industry that some of the biggest publishers care more about the money coming in and fattening their wallets than they do about making a quality product for gamers to enjoy. Whether it be the proliferation of loot boxes and microtransactions, the increase in useless pre-order bonuses, shoddy collector's edition merchandise, or the pushing of season passes that should not be needed in the first place. We are being inundated with more and more fluff designed to maximize profit for the company and squeeze as much money out of consumers than ever before. We are also getting a good look at how little these big companies care about their own employees. A great example of that is with Activision Blizzard's new CFO, Dennis Durkin, a man who got around a $15 million sign-on bonus while the company prepares to institute mass layoffs as a result of their dip in stock market value. I can guarantee that all the people that will be laid off will not be any of the top brass. Mr. Durkin will not be one of those unfortunate people. Instead, the people who will lose their jobs will be people like you and me, the people who depend on that job, the people who live paycheck to paycheck. It will be the people that these companies consider a replaceable commodity. Years ago, I worked for Microsoft as a technical support agent for Xbox Live. This was back in the Xbox 360 era, and I saw firsthand how giant companies treat these low-level employees. The very people who make up the backbone of these corporations and are on the front lines dealing with the backlash of every controversy created by bigwigs like Dennis Durkin. They take the brunt of consumer anger so that people like him don't have to. And they are not only not valued, but they get paid peanuts for it. The reason for this is just as I had mentioned. They are seen as a replaceable commodity. These companies have a revolving door where someone is always there to take your place if you become what they consider a liability. I remember vividly that there was a manager that never cared enough about his employees to learn their names. He just referred to you by your employee number. After years and years of treating consumers like their personal cash dispensers, people are finally waking up to what these big publishers really are. Parasitic, greedy, and indifferent to the very people that make them the biggest companies in the industry. Companies such as EA, Activision Blizzard, Bethesda, and Ubisoft all conduct a similar business model. Make subpar games, many barely considered to be complete gaming experiences, and piecemeal out the content to maximize profit. Not to mention littering each one with ridiculous microtransactions to keep the cash flowing in even after the game has been purchased at full price. It never used to be like this. And the only reason it is this way is because we, the consumer, have allowed it to happen. And these things are just the tip of the proverbial iceberg.
Know what I'm saying?
We are watching the corruption of Blizzard Entertainment. Once one of the most beloved developers in gaming history, starting to fall victim to Activision's influence. The Blizzard of yesteryear would have never even considered an obvious cash grab the likes of Diablo Immortal. It would have been beneath them. They were always hailed for the groundbreaking quality of their games, each one revolutionizing the genre and framework in which it existed.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
You can play on your tablet too.
We are watching Bethesda absolutely ruin the Fallout franchise, something I always worried would happen the moment I read that they had acquired the rights to it. I was a fan of the originals when they were released under the loving care of Black Isle Studios in the 90s. And the worst part of it all is that my fears back then are playing out before our very eyes. EA, always maligned for their anti-consumer business model even back in the day, is now mismanaging and poisoning the Star Wars license, damaging the reputation and immaculate experience of the Battlefield franchise, and proving time and time again that profits are more important than creativity. I could go on and on about the sheer dumpster fire that these and other companies have created, and continue to double down, even triple down on.
And what I can say about all of those teams, and what I can say about us, is that we are always trying to learn and listen and strive to be better.
It breaks my heart watching so many legendary franchises being eroded and ruined by corporate greed and consumer disdain. So, how do we change it? Is there a way that we, the consumer, can turn things around? There's really only one way, one power that we all have to stymie this cancerous activity from perpetuating. We can stop supporting these publishers. We can stop buying their games, their merchandise, and other products. We have to vote with our wallets. It's the only power we have. And it's a power that we must exercise now. Without our support, these companies will fall forever. They'll be relegated to the dustbins of history and forgotten as a bad dream. We can only hope that if and when this happens, that our favorite franchises will be sold off to developers who truly care, not just about the quality of the games themselves, but also for the consumers who purchase them and love them. The future of gaming is not with these giant AAA publishers, but with independent developers. These are the companies that are doing all the innovating in the industry today anyway. These are the people who are taking chances and propelling gaming into new and amazing heights. While all we see from AAA companies is more of the same. Annual releases that are very much the same game as last year's release, still being sold at a premium. So, I implore you, instead of buying the next Call of Duty, the next Battlefield, or the next Fallout, buy a game from a company that cares about the experience you are going to have. Buy a game from a company that wants you to have a memorable gaming experience, one that years from now you will look back on fondly. In regards to the bigger developers, buy a game from Nintendo, a company where the corporate bigwigs decided to take a massive pay cut when the Wii U underperformed, just so that they didn't have to lay off their lower level employees. Nintendo has set a great example as to how big companies should behave when something goes wrong. They didn't give a huge sign-on bonus to a new CFO in difficult times, while laying off employees who depend on their paychecks. Nintendo's higher-ups chose to take the hit to their paychecks instead. To me, that speaks volumes to the character of Nintendo as a corporate entity. So, before you buy that next big release, take a look into the way the company conducts business and how they treat their employees and customers, and maybe reconsider feeding the machine. Maybe take that money and instead support a developer who supports and respects those that have made them what they are today. Thank you for spending your valuable time here with me today. Take care and game on.